fight, tear down the night. This such a fun. Hey, what's going on, everybody? We'll wait for people to come on in. It's the last live stream of the rest of your lives. No, it's the last live stream of March. Just wanted to hop on here for a minute, see who was up. Figured why not? It's kind of April Fools coming up at midnight. I was thinking about all these things I could do, but I decided I don't want to add to misinformation and craziness going on in the world right now. It just doesn't even feel funny. I mean, there's enough like laughable crap going on in the world as it is. But hello and welcome. We'll wait for some people to come in. I'm trying to think of a song we could start with to get us in the mood. I'm banished outside right now because my wife's sleeping, and she's got to get up at 5 a.m., which I usually do as well, and then I take a nap midday if must be. But how are we doing? CC, Ginger Gal, Mr. WWB, Darbwire, what's up? 31 minutes left in March, that's right. Hey, guess who just forgot to close the valve before opening his canister fill? Oh no, I have done that as well. That is suck. Les suck. Good day. G'day. Swamp Beasts. Oh, that was terrible. I don't even know what accent that was. G'day. Robert Bennett, hello. Welcome. Good to see y'all in here. And down under, they're already in the future. You're already in April 1st. So, let's see here. Oh, once upon a time when crack was gold and hip-hop was not yet platinum sold, I scoured the streets for sacks to fold. Oh, wait. My mood, like my hair, was relaxed and blowed. I hated police, and my teachers were beasts. The one university I knew was Yale, so I cooked it, bagged it, put it on sale. Now, philosophically, you'd be opposed to it, inhaling Coca-Cola by the mouth or the nose, but economically, I would propose that you go eat a... As employment had froze, and I felt like an abandoned child left to fend for myself in the wild, while every judge room, court, and gavel was there to bury me under the gravel, or at the bottom of the finest malt ale. Observe, you'll find without fail that in every neighborhood and penitentiary there exist many others who are similar to me, and we are the ones. We'll get your government. Go get your guns. We came to fight. Go get your guns. Now that's just polite. That's just polite. In late years, I lost some peers amidst burners with Belvedere and took shots from gung-ho for cashiers. The world was cold, yet hell was near. So I saved for a kilo, and my stops got a little bit color like Skilo. A street CEO. There was all of this in heroin and not one hero. The intensity was 45. As I lived down 40 times on the 45, that belly down at the retail store, I could retail more if I don't wish it to be glorified. I was a pioneer, I was eager to listen, to not sleep in the park, living in fecal emission. Otherwise, I survived without legal permission, which was a little decision, which all I wanted was my regal to glisten, and we are the ones. We'll get your state, tear down your state, go get your government, we got the guns. Anyways, if anybody, this is a song from, I don't know, 2003, 4, from a Black Panther hip-hop group, loosely. Anyways, they're from Oakland. Boots Riley is the name of the leader of the hip-hop group. Kind of butchered that. But anyway, we all, yeah, he got that TISM concert for free. That's right. Did I have my Dr. Pepper too late this evening? Yeah, we won't get fooled again. Yeah, that's right, Mick. Hey, that's the first song to drop the F-bomb that made the charts. Actually, that's not true. So here's an interesting little tidbit. So the song Louie Louie, I'm a huge music fan, obviously. I'm probably on the spectrum. Like, okay, I lied. I am on the spectrum. I've been diagnosed as a kid, but that was like whatever, 35 years ago. But to some degree, I'm a little unique. Let's put it that way. Or like everyone else. I guess everyone has autism these days, right? Anyways, so whatever. Y'all know I'm a little weird with facts and dates and stuff. I can't remember a name or phone number for the life of me, but I'll remember like the year a fish was discovered and like the collection point. Why? I don't know. But yeah, that won't get fooled again. So when well, so that song dropped the F-bomb openly, and it was they had to like censor it on the BBC, so they cut a new version that didn't drop it. But after midnight, they could play it in the UK. They couldn't play it in the US, but some DJs got a hold of it. And the Louie Louie song, so that was a song that went around. A lot of bands covered it, but the Kingsmen from Seattle, Washington, were like a no-name band that did like kegger parties at like UW, University of Washington's frats. And they were known as kind of like a drunken frat rock, garage rock kind of outfit. And there was a whole bunch of other bands, the Sonics, the Wailers, not the reggae ones, but the Wailers spelled a different way, like wailing. Anyways, doesn't matter. So that song, the FBI actually investigated Louie Louie because they couldn't understand what it was saying. And they thought that in the part where they sound so drunk that you can't understand them, they thought that was maybe something communistic or like antisocial. And so they put a hold on the song from playing it on a lot of stations and a lot of distribution networks while they investigated. But they investigated and they found, after interviewing the guys and everything, that there was nothing in the song. Louie Louie was just like a senseless song. And basically, the only thing that's funny about all that is that they examined it for like hours. Like they had dozens and dozens of people listening to it backwards and listening to it backtracked and like overdubbed with this or that or this recording. They went and got the original masters and everything. The thing that they never noticed is, and you can hear if you listen to the original album on vinyl, and it's in some of the CD masters, including what was on Spotify. I don't know if they changed it because it got called out pretty largely if you guys have saw this in the news, but apparently the drummer drops one of his drumsticks in the middle of the song on the recording they used because it was pretty good except for like the last little bit of this loop they used. And he goes, "Oh," really loud in the room while the drum hits. And so you can actually hear it if you listen carefully. I think it's at like 53 seconds or something into the song. But yeah, anyways. that's that's the first song that got a bunch of airplay where you could actually hear the F word if you listen carefully. Hello, you deliver my food, sir. Well, good. Louis Prima fan, I feel like you would be. Yeah. I like everything. I like a lot of different music. Louis, mm-mm. Oh no, no baby, we gotta go. Yeah, that song exactly. Ay 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 ay. Okay. Yeah, would I forgive you? Yes, I would forgive you. My friends walk inside my house, eat stuff, hang out, watch TV, don't do anything useful for me other than stimulate my brain. I mean, it used to be more like that when I was younger. Nobody wants to come over like that anymore, which is probably good. People start telling me a bad word from the start. Yeah. Let's see here. I do not know Far Cry. Actually, I haven't played any video games. I know it's a video game, but I haven't played any of them since the first one. And that came out like when I was stopping playing video games, basically. Like, kind of as I was getting out of doing it as like a daily thing. I do miss video games, though. So I figured since, like, it's late, whatever, if anybody has any questions that are, like, out of the blue, feel free to ask. You have a YouTube channel with a subscriber. The channel is 1610. Arav at play. Okay. Hello. If you guys want to check out his channel, go for it. Radina, what's up? Good to see you. Also, Trey wrong, wrongly. Can you play the song? Yeah, no, I can't play any songs. That's the problem. That's what started me, singing and humming and tapping on things at the beginning and end of shows sometimes was the fact that I can't play most songs without copyright issues or whatever, and they'll pull the stream immediately. Do you ever squeeze out or clean the media in your hang off the back filter or swap it out for charcoal if you want to polish your water? Yeah, Darb. totally depends on the tank. If it's a tank with like something where I've treated with antibiotics or like anything with the blue dye in it, like Victorian green or malachite green or any of that stuff, definitely I will run. I save the charcoal filter bags that come with a lot of those kits and a lot of the hang off the back filters. I won't use them when they're new, but I'll use them, yeah, to polish the water and to pull the chemicals out. And then I will basically just go from there. Johnny, what's up, buddy? Thank you so much. Don't worry about the gifts, the memberships, but Johnny's giving them out. I mean, he's just on a roll this month, this year, and I appreciate it. He's my ride or die for sure. I can see he's got he's got the the motorcycle crew vibe going on. What's up, man? Where am I from? I'm from Seattle, born and raised Seattle. Traveled the whole country, continent, really, Alaska, all the way to Mexico, and everywhere in between, Florida, Maine, all throughout the Midwest, throughout Appalachia, throughout the East Coast. I was a tattoo artist, and well, first I went to college in Bellingham, Washington, right south of Vancouver, for 4 years. Had 2 years of college done when I got there because I took college classes as a high schooler because I got expelled from my high school. Which ended up being awesome because I got back in time to walk for graduation to the district because it'd been 2 years. But I got free college because I got to go to the community college. And so I got to go to the community college, and that was great. Got 2 years of my AA done, and then I went to college and was able to get 2 degrees in the time that you could normally get 1 done. Then I did my master's, except for 4 credits, and I need to literally go back and get the 4 credits because I wrote my thesis as an undergrad. I got obsessed, as you do, I suppose, with the TISM. Hey, from New Zealand, what's up? Good to see you. Welcome. And so then I got a history degree and an archaeology degree. Actually, cultural anthropology was my 4-year. History and cultural anthropology. History of the Middle East and Northern Africa in modern times. That was my focus. And then, oddly enough, for cultural anthropology, it was Coast Salish tribes, so the tribes from Washington State on the coast. Then I got into archaeology, and for the next, well, a year of my last part of schooling, and then for my grad school, I did archaeology of the Coast Salish tribes again. And Neanderthals was like where I focused for my final stuff. And I wrote a thesis on Somali piracy for my history degree, and I wrote a thesis on how the Oxycontin epidemic was going to turn into a dope epidemic when they made the pills so that people couldn't abuse them when they were going to change them. I wrote a paper about how bad that was going to be because they rolled it out in one state first and trying it out, and it already had like terrible consequences. I did not see the impact of the F word drug coming. I mean, I thought it might be something like China White or whatever, but I didn't know that that would be what happened. And so that is what I wrote my thesis on with regards to the Native American community and how their history. The Lummi tribe is who I worked with, and they had a tribal elder who came to the university and wanted somebody who had a past with addiction, which was me, in active addiction at the time. So I actually, in college, was an opiate user and was one of the only white people that was able to kind of chat with a lot of active users. And I, took notes and stuff. And then I cleaned up for my senior year. When I was 21, I stopped drinking and stopped using substances, cleaned up, and graduated or whatever. I mean, but then I got after that, I got into the archaeology, and then after college, I couldn't really find a job doing anything, and I got arrested for spray painting a mural at the beach for a friend who had passed away. We did this big mural on a retaining wall and of Mount Baker and him snowboarding off a picture, and the picture we used was him at sunset, and then we did like kind of like graffiti lettering type, typical wild style stuff. And I got busted. Everyone else ran. I was slow. I was fat. Got busted, and the person whose property it ended up being, we thought it was state property, and that it wouldn't be a big deal to put a memorial like poster spray paint mural there for the guy who broke his back and died. And so it was private property after all. It was a retaining wall for some really wealthy guy, and he owned a bunch of latte stands, and he hired me and dropped the charges if I would do latte stand art of native scenery of the Northwest on his latte stands in Whatcom County. And from there, I started doing murals and started doing more tattooing rather than just like as a hobby. Out of my basement, I got an apprenticeship. And then after that, I went on the road with a couple heavy metal bands. And I was sober for that trip of 6 months traveling through Canada, America, and Mexico, which was really weird in the time. Yeah, let's see. What kind of fish are you planning for the new tank setups? I want to get some of those Hillstream loaches. Chang has a bunch of those beautiful, like with the fins that are crazy. He has some really cool loaches, and I really want to get those. They're expensive. I don't know if he'll maybe like promo me some with store credit or something. I think I might be able to trade him some baby bettas if they successfully rear their babies right now. Right now, they're just newborns, so we'll see. But, I've been talking also to Adam Ragusia, and he's been talking about how I should try playing more with underwater filming. And so in that 65 tank, I kind of want to set it up in an interesting way where we could maybe set up a cave with the camera able to look right in, like set up on the side and able to look into the cave. And then that would allow us to see the eggs and everything. And so I'm kind of thinking about that. Plecos would be the easiest thing to do that with, but I kind of want to see it with like Hillstream loaches and stuff like that. When did I squeeze my wife into that history? So my wife, I met her. So all of that stuff happened. Everyone thinks I'm like in my 20s, but I'm 38 as of January 19th. And I got finished with college by 22. Well, finished with my 4-year, I should say, but I had 2 years of my 4-year done, so I finished that early. So I was 22. Then I traveled the country, got my apprenticeship for a year for tattooing. Also was doing it on the side for like all my punk friends and stuff. And was playing with graphic design just for like bands and like t-shirts and like just as a side like hobby jobby. And then I did I had a publishing company in Bellingham that used only paper made in the USA, ink made in the USA, printed in the USA. We didn't have anything that was hyper local like that at the time for publishing, and I was really frustrated because I wanted to publish my artwork in an anthology, and nobody could do color printing locally for like anything reasonable other than screen printing. And so we set up a print company, Buffalo Press, and then also that's my friend's company. And then Neoglyphic Media is the name of another company that's pretty big now. They do a lot of like graphic novels and stuff, but that's my other buddy. And then I started publishing Soma Inc. as my publishing company personally. And I did more like fanzines and art publications and protest stuff, political stuff from all sides. Like I didn't have a one side of the aisle or anything. Mick, thanks. I appreciate it. Yeah, he was being annoying. I don't really care if people do that, but when they're just like taking up the chat and being annoying, I understand. Like, just shut them up. I appreciate it. Thank you. And again, I saw another membership gifted out We have so many members right now, thanks to. I just can't believe it right now. Johnny has given out so many memberships. How many types of Hillstream loaches does he have? Johnny was asking too. He has right now more than I've ever seen in the US at once. He's got, I think, 14. I'm going up there to film them either tomorrow or the next day, depending on what time he gets his next shipment, because he'll have 14 Borneo loach species and I think another 10 Chinese or Southeast Asian species, if you count like reticulated lizard, saddled hillstream, slender hillstreams. He's also, I think he's supposed to get one of the notched ones. He's also got top hat blennies, which are an insane looking fish. If you guys have never seen a top hat blenny freshwater fish, they look like a moray eel with a crazy top hat on, like with a frilled crown or crest. It is bonkers. They're super cool. But yeah, go to Moonlight Aquatic online. I'm gonna hopefully help him take pictures to list some of the fish on there that don't have good photos listed, because some of them are a little more pricey because there's no wholesaler on Borneo that's on the north side of the island. There's only Indonesian and Chinese wholesalers on the south side. So Brunei has that's the one exception, but it's a hard country. You have to pay crazy tariffs to get anything in or out of because it's a sultanate. It's a tiny little city state, kind of like Singapore. It's like the size of like New York City or smaller. But they do have fish there that they export, including bettas and things. And the loaches coming out of Borneo. Right now, there's a book that exists that has 62 species, and that says Borneo Hillstream loaches. That's the newest publication, but they already have another 20 in waiting, according to the guy who just published that book. So looks like there's probably 80 or more unique species on Borneo. Every single stream and or basin, I should say, every drainage basin that's separated by at least 100 feet of elevation seems to have evolved its own variety of hill stream loach. It's crazy. So all the major any spot in the river that has a nice flat plain and a rapid section seems to have those loaches, which is wild. Also, like Sulawesi, that's another place where every fresh body of water is ancient, super ancient, like 11 million years old freshwater lake, which is nuts. Like Lake Baikal is like 40 or 30 million years old, and I think that's the oldest in the world in Russia. But it's cold. That's a cold lake. And even so, there's still a bunch of species, like the Lake Baikal seal. There's mammals in the middle of Russia. If you look on a map for Lake Baikal, it's also the deepest lake. But there's these interesting lakes like that are ancient, ancient lakes. Lake Tanganyika is a pretty old lake also. Lake Victoria, however, is super young. It's only 100,000 years old or something like that. And it may have been dry as recently as, or not necessarily fully dry, but like a series of smaller lakes rather than a giant, the biggest lake in the world by surface area. But yeah, it's kind of interesting because you should really look at the age of a river basin or a river geologically to understand if it's going to be full of species diversity as well as just the geology. Appalachia is another ancient place. Another one is, and there's a big diversity of darters and shiners and stuff like that in Appalachia because of that diversity. But it used to be connected all the way to the Pontinal down in South America and all the way to Scotland and England. And like the Scottish Highlands are part of the Appalachia originally. They were the same mountain range when Pangaea was a continent. And there are some fish species that trace all the way back to when that was a single continent. And the Atlas Mountains in Morocco are also part of that. So wild. Gotta get my sponsor in. Man, I can't believe they won't sponsor a CO2 cartridge. I have been pitching Dr. Pepper for years, since like I had like 100 subscribers. I have been pitching them the idea, buy me a CO2 tank. Let me run 2 tanks off of it for aquariums, and then make the tank look like a big old 2-liter bottle of Dr. Pepper. Like we'll just put decals on it, and then we'll make a soda machine, like with the syrup in the bag and everything, like a soda gun to fill up a drink during my live streams, and I'll give Dr. Pepper the advertising, but they never bought. They never bought. Let's see here. Alex, how many types of O? Yeah. Let's see here. After 11 months, I got an answer from Allstate. Gallery types ecosystem there. Alex, Mick M. So upset with all that. But my side for a year. Oh no. Yeah, Altums are so temperamental. That's a bummer. Fidencio Cyprian. Hello. Uh. Oh yeah, Habrosis breeding. I have bred Habrosis. Not in high numbers though. Only in like they'll have like 7 or 8 babies at a time. That's all I've ever bred them like. But when I was very new aquarium keeper, I was able to do that. Johnny, thank you for the Hillstream Loach Fund. I didn't read what you said until just now as I got through it. Yeah, Blenny. Yeah, Blenny. Top hat Blenny. They're really crazy. Google them. They're a freshwater fish and they're wild. Um, Alex Korea, I hope you can find water and not lose. Oh, yeah, yeah. Man, yeah, I wish you the best with that tank situation. Do I watch any archaeologists? Yeah, Mini Minuteman is a young kid that I watch. He's like 22 or 23 or something, I think. Maybe he's 24 or 5. I don't know. Whatever. However old he is, he just graduated. He's pretty fresh, or wet behind. I'll say wet behind the gills. Let's say that. His gills are still wet. He is a, you know, interesting guy. His stuff is pretty good, but his social skills are great. Obviously, I need to like learn from him short form and stuff. But he likes to do a lot of the disproving of uh, infactual, incorrect pseudoscience, and I really like that. Mini Minuteman is his channel. And he kind of is a little too cocky sometimes, I think. But I do think that for a young dude, he's got like 2 million subscribers or something. It's crazy that he's got that with just an undergrad, or maybe he has yeah, maybe actually probably has about the same archaeology background as I do, master's, not a PhD. I never got my full PhD. So, but yeah, the other channel I really like is Stephen Milo. Love that channel. And another channel I like is North O2. That's another really good archaeological channel. There's another channel that's okay. It's got this gal and she's always posed like this in every thumbnail. She's always like, and she's a blonde girl. Her name's Kaylee, I think. But I watch the archaeology channels because I thought about starting an archaeology and what do you want? Whatever you want to call it, history and sociology and archaeology and cultural anthropology kind of focused channel. But I got my hands full here, and I got to fail at this thoroughly before I take on that. I guess I jump into it every once in a while. Oh, they said they'd send you another one, Alex, huh? Let them send you another one, I guess. Hey, Stephen P. 2003. Good to see you, man. Um. Also, if you wish your tap water was harder, you can always add minerals to your tap water, man. Always add salinity or minerals or whatever. Just buy a bag of that stuff, blend it up, get yourself like an IBC tote, and if you can, or a oil drum, a plastic like vegetable glycerin storage drum that's left over. something like that. And you can, I mean, you can store 50 gallons of pre-mixed black water or hard water, you know, soft, hard, whatever. That works pretty well. Um, oh, really, Dennis? New bill to stop ticket scalpers. That's cool. You know what else just got signed by the Senate, which is really stupid, is that and I think most people will agree, is that banks are allowed now again to charge whatever they want in late fees, overdraft fees, and whatever. They used to be the most recent legislation that had changed 4 years ago made it so they couldn't charge more than $5 at a time per incident, so to speak. Like, I mean, obviously they're going to stop you from overdrafting, but now they can charge you whatever they want again. It's unregulated again. So the banks got deregulated in all their fee commission. Also, the IRS has fired all of their bank audit team, and there is a new, if we're going to go off on a side tangent, there is a new paper that just came out of, and it's a Keynesian economic paper. It's a very conservative paper and school of thought on this. And there's a liberal paper that agrees too that came out. But basically, a lot of people online and small businesses are saying that they're not going to pay taxes if enforcement has been cut in half staff wise at the IRS. If they're not cracking down on small tax contributors, why should anybody stress about doing their taxes right? The US has the stupidest tax system in the world where they say, you do this complicated input or use a third party app that may or may not be right, or hire an accountant and tell us what you owe us. We know what you owe us. In theory, they say they know. And if it's wrong, we're going to either threaten you with jail and or well, first a bill and fines, and then we're going to threaten you with jail if you don't pay that. And you have to prove otherwise. Whereas in every other country in Europe, usually it's here's what you owe. Argue if you think it's less. Prove it, you know, if you have exceptions, which to me makes more sense than playing this weird guessing game with our government where it's like, oh, yeah, we have to tell you what we think we owe as non-skilled tax people ourselves. You have to go look for the loopholes. You have to go hire an accountant. You have to go pay the money that all rich people already have hired all these people, already know all the loopholes. But your average person is going to just take the standard deduction, and that's what they're going to go with in the US. Anyways, side tangent. So the banking thing just popped back on. Also, insulin. It was down to $15 a vial in some states. It's back up to 750 because the regulations that Trump signed in his first term just got overturned with another thing when he deregulated stuff. So I don't understand what the heck is going on with that. Because I'm here to like cheer on Trump if he's going to do things that I approve of, but if his administration's going to allow those things to go on too, that sucks. But stopping Ticketmaster and scalpers, great. I think that's awful. It's gotten so that like concert tickets, half the price or more in the US oftentimes is the actual like ticket handling fee and tax and whatever and whatever. Like my wife just got tickets that were supposed to be $65 and they were $130 a ticket after the handling by Ticketmaster and Clear Channel and this or that, whatever the fees were. All right, sorry guys. Rant over. Let's see what's going on. Johnny's asking people to hit the like button. I always appreciate that. Let's see here. I've been binge watching your video on Father Fish videos. I didn't find a video that explains in depth how to take care of cyanobacteria. I saw you vacuum some plants. Would love if I cover cyan. Yeah. So, Ginger Gal, that's an interesting question. So, the best way to deal with cyanobacteria is a full blackout. If you're gonna deal with cyanobacteria, starve it out. Don't feed your fish. Black it out. Put a quilt over the tank. Don't turn the lights on. 3 days. Really, that's the best thing you can do. But you're gonna need to do a bunch of water changes and manual removing of the cyanobacteria as best you can with a turkey baster or siphon first. I like to use a toothbrush and a turkey baster, and I'll scrub, and then suck up the like poof of green slimy junk, and it's time consuming. It sucks. If you're in the US or somewhere else where you can get antibiotics, any gram-positive antibiotics at half the dose recommended for fish will destroy cyanobacteria. That's the big secret. Now, there's products out there also like Seachem Flourish Excel that will kill algae and will kill cyanobacteria and things like that. But antibiotics are really the best way to kill it. Now, over time, do you want to be using antibiotics over and over again in a fish room and allowing things like cyanobacteria to gain resistance? Not really, but at the same time, it's like if everybody's doing that in isolation and then not sharing, then it's okay. But if you're a fish breeder like myself, like if it's in a tank that's a community tank that's not going to be swapping plants and other things from that tank to other hobbyists, then it's not a big deal if you want to nuke the algae or cyanobacteria with antibiotics. Some algae will die from antibiotics as well. Just depends. But if you do that and you've done it over and over and over, and there's some resistant antibiotic or antibiotic resistant cyanobacteria still living on some of the plants, you cut the plants, you give those to someone else in a bag, and then they put them in their tank, and then they start growing them, and there's a little bit of that cyanobacteria that's not enough to notice, but it's existing. And soon that bloom happens in someone else's tank when they sell cuttings. That can be a real problem, and that has actually been happening with both and Vibrio, and with it happened at one point with the angelfish wasting disease and with the neon tetra wasting disease as well. But the best way to deal with it is the good old-fashioned elbow grease. Also, you can use hydrogen peroxide, 3%. You can use stronger if you want. Hydrogen peroxide, when you put it in water, it turns into water and oxygen and nitrous oxide, gas. Depending on what's in your water, it might turn into a little bit of sulfurous gas and stuff like that too, a little bit of methane. Not a big deal. But it turns into that quickly, like within a minute, 30 seconds to a minute. But if you have a turkey baster or a syringe with like a needle syringe, and you can get it right into the heart of like blackbeard algae or cyanobacteria, any living cells really. It'll kill plants, it'll kill algae. But on plants, it's on the surface of plants, and plants have protective coats of cells, cell walls too. So they're more resistant to it. But eventually, it will kill plants also. So you can't massively dose it in your aquarium. But you can what they call spot treat. So you can take maybe 2 or 3 ounces of hydrogen peroxide, and it's not going to hurt your fish or shrimp if you do it slowly in a couple spots. And then the next day or two, you should see an orange color on brown and a yellow color on green cyano or algae. It'll turn bright orange if it was a brown or red cyanobacteria or algae, or a blackbeard algae, or like horn algae. It'll turn either yellow, orange, like kind of like when you bleach with normal bleach, like a black shirt. Erms, Graspa, I can't say the last part. Let's see, Aquatic, I love that. Just collected some aquatic isopods, right on. Yeah, they're really great as far as most research that's been going on in actual, universities. The isopods, unlike other things like scuds and stuff, isopods seem to very thoroughly clean eggs. Like they put them in with danios, they put them in with koi, and they put them in with there was one other fish, bettas, and they did not disturb the eggs whatsoever. In fact, they cleaned them, and anything with fungi or bacteria growing on it, they actually would carry off away from the other eggs and eat it separately, which is wild. You would think that they evolutionarily might want the eggs to all catch it so they could have a big meal. But apparently evolution figured out, or whatever, or it's just dumb luck. But it figured out that no, you need enough of those fish to survive to make more baby eggs to get fungus. That's a better system than having them all fungus. Kind of cool. Mr. WWBB says, moved to Florida, figured tap water would have been so hard. Nope. Yeah, some of it is really soft, which is kind of odd, but yeah. Um, BC, oh, because Intuit makes bills on TurboTax. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Alex, you're right. It is dangerous with little business because interest on those fees is going to go way up. Yep. Yeah, airplane tickets. Yeah, talk about a racket too. I know. A turkey baster. Yeah, you can use a turkey baster to kill algae if it has a bunch of if it has hydrogen peroxide in it, H2O2. Anyone know where I can get weak Aquapar data? I don't know why manufacturers just. Oh, I know. I don't know why they don't do that. Um, Yeah, I don't know the best place. The Seattle, or I mean, the Portland Aquarium Club used to have good up-to-date information on all the major retail um, lights and what they were putting out, par wise, watt wise, amps, all the pertinent information, and then if they were LED or CFL or all the different things. And for a while there, it was the Wild West. There was different types of tube lighting. There was fake tube lighting that was LED. There was gas in like almost like neon type tubing. There was the silver halide, the silver oxide. There were all the grow lights. There were the CFL lights, and there were versions of LED too. So kind of crazy. But I did just see research. Um, yeah, rabbit snails, most snails will eat some types of cyanobacteria. And in fact, spirulina is a cyanobacteria, and it will get eaten by quite a few different critters. Live bears love that stuff. And in fact, if you had enough cyanobacteria in the form of spirulina growing like healthily in your aquarium, they could just eat that. It has enough protein and nutrients incredibly that they would survive off of that. And when they do, they've got these purple, or not purple, these bright green curly Q poops that are kind of disgusting. But if you see a live bear tank, I've also had rainbow fish and pencil fish. Um, yeah, I agree, Alex. Hydrogen peroxide is only a temporary remedy because you're not fixing the underlying problem. So that's why you got to do the blackout thing, and I'm just saying it helps in the manual removal for sure. Uh, yeah, for isopods, collect brown leaves and dry rot wood when it is available. Yeah, lasts you the whole year. Yeah, that's good advice, definitely. Also, they really seem to like, gourds, watermelons, pumpkins. You scrape out the wettest material. You can even bake it so that it'll last longer, or what do they call that? Broil it really on low, or if you got a dehydrator. Coconut's another one. Coconut husk. Let's see here. Do, 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 do. Yeah, Mick's got a good point there. So, Corydoras, the Hastatus, same with the Habrosis. There are a lot of critters out there that in the wild they only spawn when they get the chemical signals and or probably also the environmental cues, to be honest, of like, oh, there's a bunch of fish overhead and they're not freaking out, they're not running away, they're just chilling, slowly swimming in circles. And the other cues of like, oh, there's hormones in the water, there's they can smell like estrogen, testosterone, whatever it may be from the other fish, progesterone, growth hormones, all that stuff is stuff that triggers other fish to get into the mood. And so I and many other aquarists, I mean, this is a trick that goes all the way back to Innes's book in 1931. This was the first time I've noticed it because I thought, wow, that's really advanced, technique for back then. But what they would do is they would wait for something easy, like they'd get a crebensis or um, a bristlenose pleco, or some sort of easy fish to spawn, relatively speaking, an easy egg spawner. Then they would take that tank's water and they would take like 10 gallons or 5 gallons and they would dump that into the water of a harder to breed fish and they'd cool it down first. So they'd let it cool down, and in the other tank they'd let the water evaporate down a bit, and that they knew that they should mimic the dry season. Basically, that during either the peak of the dry season is when the fish will lay their eggs so that the babies are ready when it rains to scatter everywhere, or they'll have babies right when the first rains hit. That's their last cue in most species to like, you better have your babies now or it's too late. Like the waters are going to get too high and the babies, there's too many big fish that can come and get you in the shallows. Um, Hello, Alex, USMC. What's up? What's your thoughts on giving plants a siesta break? It's fine. You can chop up the light day however you like. If you want to do, I mean, I wouldn't do it 3 times a day. That's a little absurd. But like, as long as it's about 3 hours, you can do three. I mean, I know people who have done 3 hours in the morning, then off, then like 3 hours in the afternoon, then off, and then 3 hours at like midnight, so that they can be with their fish and their plants and everything, but not have the tank light on more than 9 hours or 8 hours. Some people only leave the light on like 6 hours, but in that case, you better have a really strong light with a lot of par or a lot of lumens that can impart a lot of energy, and you want to have good ferts and CO2 if you're trying to do that kind of thing, which it's a great way to do it if you're trying to grow some of those really fancy types of species, because the problem with a lot of those species is if you leave a tank on 8, 10, 12, 14 hours of light and you use, say, like a Fluval 3.0, while that might be highlight to a lot of us in the hobby, when we think of a light that's like, what's an expensive light? Well, you think of something like that. That's nowhere near like a grow light for, say, like tomatoes, for like herb or something. Like there are such bright lights, some people have like 12,000 lumens, whereas those lights have 2,000 to 4,000, something like that is considered highlight in our hobby for most people. But I mean, go look at like coral, the intensity of lights that coral has to have and stuff like that too. So you can really push a lot of energy in there. In a short time period. The plants don't care as long as they have enough time to know it's daytime, then it's nighttime. And it seems like they need 3 to 4 hour chunks to know that. Like if it's shorter than that, they've found that they'll survive, they'll do their thing. But the thing is, plants are just like humans or animals in that they need to sleep. So plants have one metabolic pattern when they're awake, and that's producing oxygen and sucking up nutrients and carbon dioxide. Whereas when they're sleeping, they're putting out carbon dioxide that's left over. They're actually taking in some oxygen, but they're using up their energy that's in their starches and sugars. And so they're actually doing what animals and what we do at night. That's when they do their metabolic pattern that's more similar to a living organism like an animal. Whereas plants, they have this other metabolic pattern in the day that's so crazy the way it evolved, which is that they breathe in that CO2 and they steal the carbon off the CO2 and out of the soil somewhat, but CO2 and nitrogen, and they use that nitrogen, potassium, and carbon are the big ones, plus all the trace minerals. But that's what they're made of. That's what a plant is different combinations of that. And that's when they basically are putting their Legos together. Basically, it's like they have in the stem and the roots and the rhizome, it's like it's filled with Legos. And at night, all of a sudden, the little individual Lego blocks get sent up the stem of the plant and out to the different limbs. And they start building Lego leaves, leaves out of Legos or something like that. Alex, you should do a review of the weak aqua lights. No English YouTubers review them. I have not seen them. That's probably why. But I'll take a look at if I can find any. Yeah. Especially if they're affordable. If they'll send me one, I'll definitely do it. I mean, I'll take a look. Higer is active about they'll send you a light to review for free. and that's for me a no-brainer to share my real thoughts on something, because my deal when someone wants me to review something, I don't like doing a lot of reviews on this channel just because it feels like it starts getting into biases and starts getting me to push affiliate links and stuff like that, whereas I'd rather push business ethics. So like I will promote certain sellers of fish because those are living things that are going to be in transit constantly one way or the other, and I want them to be good quality. I want them to be healthy, and I want the practices to be the way I think they should be in a very problematic historically industry. Whereas hard goods, software, hardware, physical goods, that stuff lasts a while. And I don't necessarily want to always review that. I mean, I almost feel like I need a separate channel for that or something because it starts getting to like, it seemed like, oh, what's the agenda once you start reviewing a couple products from a source that you like? And then people don't believe you anyways, or it's just, you know, another echo in the chorus kind of thing. So I do have to kind of selectively do that. In my opinion, I try to selectively do that. But whenever there's a new brand or a new hot topic or a food or something that I hear a lot of people talking about, then I definitely will make an attempt to see if anybody wants to offer it. Now, usually I will buy the item. Sometimes I will get it free, but in the interest of impartiality, I usually will ask to buy the item. Um, and then I'll usually share the link. Even if I review the item and say this thing sucks, that's part of the agreement too. If their item sucks, I'm gonna put out the video saying it sucks, and they can't say anything about it. Um, so yeah. So I've had a lot of people offer to send me stuff, and then I tell them that part where I say, uh, I am not going to tell people to buy it. I will still post the affiliate link in the info, but I'm going to say, do not buy this. It's a waste of your money. And then I just never hear back from a lot of these like little Chinese companies and stuff that flood my inbox usually. Is anybody in here who has Phoenix rasboras who has ever bred them before? Just me, Johnny, just me. I've bred them several times now. Never really too intentionally, except during the start of the lockdown and everything. I bred neon tetras. I bred a bunch of rasboras. I mean, I was breeding stuff at my old house in little bins, and then we moved to this house midway through the lockdown, like at the beginning of 2021. And because Seattle was locked down forever, over a year, we off and on had lockdowns. Oh, that's so good. Um, but yeah, so definitely, you have a wait, 13. Wait, no, one. Wait, Celestial G. You have oh, for your herb. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. 13. No, that's not 13,000. That's one. That's 135,000 lumens. That is a very strong light, buddy. Celestial. That is a one hell of a light. That would burn those things. Yeah, good food. As Mick was saying, very important to getting fish to breed. What do y'all think of the new Imaginarium fish tanks Petco's selling? I think they're all right. Actually, you know, the Aquarium tanks were getting really shoddy. I bought a couple of the dollar per gallon tanks that had like faulty sealant and stuff on them, and I took them back and they were no problem. Um, no problem with that. Like they would just switch me out and it wasn't a big deal. But I was like, seriously, is like a blind person with like Parkinson's putting this crap together? Like the silicone is like this, and there's not even like there was like a stretch where literally I could see through the glass in one spot. So yeah. Oh, you have a weak aqua, huh, Steven? All right. Steven, I need to get our video made out. Sorry, buddy. I told everyone that you sent me your stuff and that I'm just a lazy bastard. What do I think about setting up a mini greenhouse with automated misting triggers by a humidity trigger? That's freaking cool. Yeah, if you want to do that, do that. House of Pisces, what's up? April Fools, what's up? Um, Weak aqua lights are high-tech lights that are very affordable. They have a huge par values for the price. They are an OEM So they make some lights for other brands. Oh, okay. Yeah, off-label. Uh, Chiros Aquatic Studios has great light spectrum, brightness. I have the B series and the ultra slim full spectrum. Love them. All right. No worries. Let me know when you're ready, and I'll share a higher quality version of my piece of the video. Oh, okay, cool. Cute. Um, what else was I gonna say tonight? I had something to say other than that rap at the beginning. I think that's the longest rap I've managed to uh, hold together. Although I didn't. I mean, I wasn't that didn't hold it together that good. But I really miss that artist, Boots Riley. Like, talk about crazy conspiracy. Um, crazy conspiracy theories. That's like oh, who's the other rapper that does that too? I mean, there's also like obviously like Tom McDonald and all those like kind of cringy people that talk a little too much. Like they're just trying to make money and they don't believe the things they say. But there's the other one. There's some on the left too, like oh, what is his name? It's driving me nuts. He had this really dumb song called Bin Laden didn't knock down the towers. It was Bush. Bush did it. He has all these like Illuminati oh, what is it? Immortal Technique, that's his name. I love a lot of his rap and stuff, but some of it is just crazy. Um, anyhow, Chiros is great. Fish tubers always rant and rave about them. Yeah, however you say that, Chihiros or yeah. Favorite David Bowie song? That's a hard one. I like early David Bowie, like 69 David Bowie. Like I like that Black Country Rock. Black Country Rock. Black Country Rock. Here the view is hazy, but it seems to me a bit unusual. Here the view is great. That's one I like a lot, but I also love like Moon Age Daydream. That's also, and I like his later stuff. I thought the Black Star album was incredible. I went and saw Bowie both times he came to Seattle in the last 20 years. I saw him in Necro too. Yeah, he's another one who's Ill Bill and Necro. Those guys, yeah, they got some crazy hip hop too. Joey Lowell, why do I keep missing your question? I don't know. You probably haven't been asking it that much, but I don't see your question. Let's see here. Joey Lowell. It might be canceling out your question. Are you doing at Alex? Yeah, there is no question in my oh wait, here we go. Never mind, I found it. It's way back up there. My water is perfect and I have great sponge have a great filter sponge and back filters, but my fish keep getting sick. What am I doing wrong? Are you quarantining your fish? Are you putting them in a tank for 3 or 4 weeks before you put them together with other fish? What are your I mean, you say your water is perfect, but what are your nitrates? What is your pH? What kind of fish do you have? You could have 8.0 pH, and that might be perfect for guppies, but if you're keeping bettas, they might be getting sick very easily there. That erodes their slime coat. If you have shrimp or snails, you could be keeping them in 6.5, and they might be barely living because the erosion is so bad from the acidity that they are the buffer in your tank. I have some tanks that are like that, where they are my buffer. And while they can survive a while and stuff, but there's these little clues, even if you don't have a test kit. But obviously, I assume you have a test kit. I would venture to guess that maybe ammonia or nitrites are spiking up. A lot of times that happens. And a lot of times it's from feeding and then a little bit too much food is in there, or also even just stuff like dechlorinator. You can't just throw like a whole cap of dechlorinator in every tank all the time. That can stress out fish. People don't read the instructions a lot of times on like if they're using safe versus prime. You only need a little drop of either one. You need like what fits on the end of a toothpick if you're using safe for a change. But that's a hard question to answer without specific details. Um, like why are your fish dying? Um, but I would say it's something that's not consistent, probably. Fish can survive very, very well in even adverse conditions if it's consistent. Even like having slight ammonia. I've had endlers or rather guppies or danios and things survive in like zero point 0.5 ammonia for a prolonged period of time, like in a crash tank. And then I check them and like, oh my gosh, and their gills are red, they've scarred up or whatever. And when I was younger, I saw that kind of stuff happen. pH is 7.5. Checked all your stuff is good. So what is your TDS? I mean, what? So if your pH is 7.5, that's great. I mean, that's a pretty average amount. But then you got something, your KH, your GH, something in your tank is buffering your tank to have it slightly alkaline. So is your TDS 600 or is it like 200? If it's 200, then you know it's just your KH and GH, and that's all that's in the water, really, other than maybe some trace minerals, some iron, whatever. Um, Now, granted, a lot of people say TDS is pointless, but it does help you figure out, like, if you know your TDS is way up there and you can account for your nitrates, your KH, your GH, your parts per million, you can add up and you still have a gap, then you know there's something in your water that may be problematic. It could be that you have chloramine in your water and that your dis, the process you're using or the product you're using doesn't work on chloramine. I mean, there's a lot of different things that it could be when people think their water's fine that can still lead to fish that are not good. At the end of the day, what matters more than your water is where did you get your fish? Did you get them at PetSmart or Petco? Because there's been many times that I bought fish from big stores like that and they look okay at the store. I get them home, they have problems. I try to treat them, and I'm someone who's successfully saved a whole lot of sick fish. But I can tell you that there are a lot of problems that I get with fish from those places that I just you can't do anything about. They've already been through too much trauma. They're already stressed to the point of no return. And they select fish that are already bright, so colorful a lot of times that like the reds on them or the types of guppy strains that they promote at the store, the assorted rainbow guppies, the tequila sunrises, the platinum whites, the blackout guppies. A lot of them are selected not necessarily just I mean, in a way they've become selected for being hardy because they're surviving transport to the store at least. But a lot of times they're hard to see like ick on, or things like corridoras. You won't even see ick until it's such a problem that I mean they're on death's door. They have a few hours left. Same with like plecos. A lot of them will not show ick other than in their gills, and who's looking, who grabs their fish and checks their gills. Sometimes you can kind of look carefully with the light at their gills if they're hanging out on the side of the glass. With catfish, you can kind of look at them. But I mean, I think that Sidious, hello late nighters, hello Sidious, and also Miami, Miumi. Sorry, I like the name. I'm just dumb at saying it. Do you think we can determine water condition by only smelling? No. I think you can tell if you know your tank well, you can assume what it should smell like. But the problem is you need to know also what, for instance, what does it smell like when cyanobacteria is present? What does it smell like when you fed a little too much and there's going to be some fish poop? So the nitrates are kind of high and you got some excess bio load. That has a unique smell that I can tell in my tanks. Smells kind of like earthy, mushroomy, and it's okay at first. If that continues, it then transfers into a more muddy, swampy, soupy, almost like a beef or chicken broth, like sharpness to it, like an umami sense. And then there's a sewer or like methane or rotten egg sulfur kind of kick to it. And like when you start smelling the sewer, the methane, methane, whatever. When you smell the sewery smell, or rotting smell, those are the bad smells. The rotten egg smell, not a good one unless that's your dechlorinator. And when you smell those, it's usually something off. Now, cyanobacteria has a very distinct kind of pungent punch in the face, kind of like, oh, ooh, it's kind of like almost like a smelling salt. When it hits you, you're kind of like, whoa, like you feel it right here in your kind of tear ducts. A lot of people say they do, anyways. Um, and algae has a kind of specific earthy vegetative smell when it's very present, like the green algae do. So, yeah, one of my tanks, 5 gallon tank, took down, cleaned all the filters, cleaned all the gravel, put it back, stress zyme, waited 2 hours, put fish in. So, another thing I would say is a lot of people think that cleaning their tank is going to help. And a lot of times, leaving your tank a little dirty is what's going to help because your fish need some bacteria. They need the slime coat on their body to be activated, and it's an immune response. And so, everything from a little bit of hardness in the water to little tiny single cell organisms are things that interact with a fish's body. And that slime coat is actually made up of bacteria, fungi, archaea. So there are three kingdoms of life that exist on the outside of most fish as a protective, just like we have skin and they have scales. Well, we have sweat and oil and what's called sebum in our pores. If you ever squeeze your nose and there's like white, gross stuff that comes out, that all that stuff is a protective. The oil that ends up making your hair greasy if you don't shower for weeks. All of that has a purpose to protect us or to clean us or to keep water from to wick water away. Well, in fish, there's a purpose and a balance, and they have this whole microbiome, just like our gut does, that exists. Not to mention, their gut has a biome. And when they get treated with antibiotics or all these medications and they get moved and shipped and then they're at the pet store and then they're in quarantine, all of that gets very taxed and stressed. If it survives at all, it's lucky sometimes. A lot of times it doesn't, and they have to start all over, and they basically have to get it from another fish or from the aquarium they're in. And so I would say that, one of the things that you want to do is if you've got like a gravel tank, um, leave your filter, only clean half of that filter at a time. Like if you can, if you got two spots, like slots for the sponges, only clean one at a time. Leave one kind of dirty, and that will keep your bacteria load very diverse, which is good, unless it's when we run into problems, it's when one thing has overpowered all the others, and that's what we call a monoculture. This is where we get problems like the potato famine in Ireland, right? Well, that's a whole political thing. The British also caused that, but whatever. So the point being, you have a big crop, and if everyone's growing algae and everyone's growing the same algae, all of a sudden it only takes one issue to wipe out all that algae. And that's great if you don't like the algae. But if you want a diversity of plants, for instance, you're growing one plant. It only takes one thing to wipe out all your plants. If you got one kind of fish, it only takes one disease to wipe out all those fish. If you've got a little sampler of 20 or 30 diseases that are also fighting each other and competing with each other to exist, if you've got 30 or 40 algae, 30 or 40, 100, whatever it is, bacteria samples, all in your aquarium, and they all want to take over, they spend their time with each other, like actually competing to become a monoculture. And as long as you are keeping their tank diverse and just letting time go on, adding new plants, adding new fish, add a little bit of food, change up the food every few days or a few weeks, all that really does help. Alex, what do I think of stress zyme? I think that it is somewhat helpful. Um, I don't think it is the same as cycling a tank whatsoever. In fact, I think a lot of the stuff that's sold as cycling your tank for you, unless it's refrigerated, a lot of them are not in fact cycling your tank. What they are is a little bit of nitrogen and a lot of amino acid and building blocks that that bacteria flourishes in. So yes, it will speed up the time in which your tank cycles, and it may already have some nitrosoma and nitrobacillus species in though, nitrobacter species in there that then can help seed, like help start it. That's in the best case scenario. But things like stress coat, stress zyme, it's a little questionable, especially with the way they're delivered to places like Phoenix and Anchorage. You know, those are very different places. They sit in warehouses at 20 degrees and at 95 degrees. That bacteria can't handle that for 6 months, you know. With no oxygen, these are oxygen-rich bacteria. Now, granted, bacteria can live in a sense of stasis or like in waiting to grow, but bacteria is not very good at doing that, actually. It's more other, more complex life is better at that because bacteria doesn't store sugars or starches or anything. Viruses are good at being dormant, but bacteria, depending on the strain, there's some sure that are like, in the permafrost ice, for instance, and they can bring them back. But a lot of them, most of them die because they don't have a complex and diverse cell structure. Whereas a plant, for instance, there's lots of seeds that we can regerminate that are 10,000 years old, and yet they're viable genetically, or we're able to get the DNA off of them. Pretty wild stuff, but it's because of that diversity. Yeah, never forget you are awesome, Johnny Best. That's right. Thank you, Johnny, buddy. Appreciate it. Um, should you do weekly water changes? If you don't have, I would say yes, do weekly water changes at first. If you've had a tank for a long time and your nitrates are not climbing too high and your water looks fine and you're not building up debris at the bottom at some crazy rate, then don't do a water change. I mean, really, like, look at the reasons why you would never, like, why you would, what you want. And if your goal is to always have pristine, clean water looks wise, you can just run a mechanical filter and have charcoal and like a sock or cheesecloth making sure it catches it, and you can clean that out quickly just in 5 minutes or less every week. Just dip it in the sink or whatever. And if you don't care about the bacteria cycle, but if you want a diverse bacterial ecosystem that's healthy for the fish long term, and you're more concerned that the fish have a little bit of algae to eat and the sucker fish or snails can eat, and there might be a little bit of algae on some of the rocks and stuff. If you don't mind that more natural look, in the sense that that's what happens in nature, pretty much everywhere we find our fish, there's also bacteria, there's also algae, there's also cyanobacteria, and in the right amounts, that's great, that's fine. It's when we get thick layers of detritus, or if it's completely inert, that's okay. It turns into a substrate that we call mulm. If it is still full of active microbes and breaking down with a bunch of energy in the form of carbon, nitrogen, those things, that's when it's problematic, because it can then become the host of a monoculture of either a cyanobacteria or a bacteria or an archaea or something very harmful. And that ends up being when you get like an outbreak of cyanobacteria, or the blue-green algae or red algae or something that can like kill a bunch of fish. And yeah, your nitrates have always been at 0 parts per million. Can't wait to get some demanding red plants now that you have better lighting. Yeah, if your nitrates are at 0 parts per million, you'll probably, and you got a good light, like, you can grow some red plants. Starving them of nitrogen is really one of the best ways to do it. That's kind of the best way. A lot of people say it's iron. Only Scarlet Temple and Alternanthera renickii and some of the Ludwigia super red. Really, those are the three main ones where iron is like actually part of the pigmentation in the cells. The other ones, it's not. It's just a basic building block that's needed on a basic level. Will adding stress zyme in the water change or hurt? No, it shouldn't cause the fish to get sick as far as I've ever seen. I think it just gives people a false sense that now they've done everything they can and it's good to go. When honestly, with water, water ages. Water has to settle. It has to either be buffered by some KH or GH, have some hardness to it, have some calcium or carbonates in it, and you want it to have some CO2, whether that's just from the atmosphere and oxygen and CO and CO2 and nitrous oxide and nitrogen. You know, all these things that are a part of our atmosphere. Our atmosphere is 70% nitrogen. Not that that's usable, but that's what should be in the air, and thus that's what should be aerated in your tank, and that's what should be available in the water column for bacteria and other things. Some bacteria eats that nitrogen, and then other things eat that bacteria, and then fish eat the little things that ate the little things that ate the, and so on and so forth. Crushed coral. You do use crushed coral in your well. Great, Joey. That's rad. I would recommend that. Um, I basically think everyone can use a little crushed coral unless their tank's like so hard already, like it's like 8.5. It's always good to put a little bit. Um, what will so I'm not gonna be at Findig this year. Findig and also the Fishtoberfest, both of those events I've been at in years past, but I'm not going to be at them this year. And I just don't think they've updated the website. But basically, they should be a diverse menu of speakers and a big auction. It's usually like $5 or maybe even free to enter, and then like $5 for the auction or something. But it's basically thousands of rare plants and fish and aquariums and gear that they wait all year for the Bay Area and all of Northern California and Southern Oregon coming together and having a big fish swap meet for 2 days. And there's vendors there from all over the country, and there's speakers there from all over the country. Where are you from in the U.S.? Yeah, it's night here. I'm outside. I'm in the carport, and it's about midnight, I think, here, 11:30 midnight. But I'm in Seattle. I'm in Seattle, Washington, and my wife has booted me from indoors to come yap outside because I'm talking too loud for her. She's got to get up in a few hours, like 5 hours, 4 hours. Um, German blue rams like the lack of minerals, so I don't use crushed coral for them. Yeah, that's totally understandable. If you got a real soft water loving fish, yeah, then I understand not using it. But again, I think if you know that you're an exception to what I'm saying, if you're like, well, I have a reason for what I'm doing, then, just ignore what I'm saying. Like, what's up. If you're an advanced fish keeper and you know why you're doing what you're doing, keep doing it, who am I to tell you you got to do something different? Only take my advice if you feel like you need something that you don't know, don't let it correct what you already know if it's working for you, if that makes any sense. What don't break something that's already fixed that you already like, maybe try it if you're interested. Keep an open mind. Should be, yeah, 12:45 in Seattle. That makes sense. Yep. I just don't have any sense of the time. It doesn't say on my phone either, so I don't know. Um, Yep, water changes and or a drop in temperature help kickstart spawning in many fish. Yep, same with a change in the total dissolved solid. Same with the change in the KH, the GH. Same with the change in the barometric pressure in the room. If it's raining outside, if it's been dry for a while and then it starts raining, or if there's a low pressure front that comes in to where you live, all these things can help you spawn your fish. How much light is shined on your fish, how much protein your fish have had in the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks before they are spawning. You want your females to have enough protein that they can build eggs and have excess for eggs. And, oh, good, your plants are going nuts, Joey. That's great. Put lots of plants in your tank. Even if they're just living in the gravel, and they will protect you to a large degree. They will really help pad that chance of ammonia and nitrates building up. They will at least use a good amount of it. Let's see here. I'm not too far from Seattle, which I like. I can get brine shrimp from Aquarium Co-op when I'm there. Right on. Yeah, I live literally, what is it? I think it's like 3.8 miles from Aquarium Co-op. I live right next to Aquarium Co-op. I grew up where Aquarium Co-op is in Seattle, but I went to high school 3 miles, 2 miles from Aquarium Co-op's location, something like that. USMC Alex, can you do a video on how some fish use hormones to stunt other fish? So I wish I could, but I don't know much about that other than that it does occur, that we have documented it. I could cite a few different studies. There's more in saltwater for some reason. You know, they look at salmon and these big cash crop fish. They don't care as much about fish that aren't going to make money. And they do, I mean, this is why, to me, it's important for governments to fund things that sound crazy. So, why we need billionaires and tech companies or governments to do these projects where you're like, why would anybody give a research grant $1 million to study bighorn sheep and if the size of their antlers matters to the way uh, how many babies they have, or some like bizarre thing like that that gets a bunch of money. It's because you never know where your research comes from. So that might tell us like the G forces involved with our next fighter jet, or with some composite material that the horns model that we learned, like that's how they are able to smash against each other. You never know where that inspiration and that science and that incredible connection is going to come from, and it's almost always from something in nature that we see, and somebody is like, whoa, did you hear about this? That's crazy. And then someone else applies it to something completely unrelated. But yeah, angels and things like that, there are fish that are able to have, they can slow other fish from being as fertile, basically, or they can cause them to increase their stress hormones, their cortisols, by simply being in the water. They put out a chemical and it's like a hormonal or pheromonal warfare. Plants do this even more, but we really don't have good information because you have to pay for these studies. And who cares in the sense of research? Who cares if this plant 10% slows the growth of that plant? Now, why should they care? They should care because maybe they'll find the mechanism that, like, Valsinaria fights duckweed, for instance. Duckweed and Valsinaria battle one another. They don't get along, and they'll both do worse if they're in the same tank. They can both exist. In some tanks, though, one will kill one and the other one will win out. And to me, it would be very important to know what is the chemical situation that is needed for that level of difference to make the difference that they can't survive together. Because then you could get rid of something invasive like duckweed with perhaps a chemical reaction that has no impact on a lot of other things in the ecosystem. And so, I think that's why we need to encourage funding of science and funding of conservation. And like when we lose a species, that's one more thing that we aren't gonna wait, what did I say? Valicineria, Val is in. Oh yeah, it's Valsnaria. Yeah, okay. Thanks. Yeah, I just hear it so much. Probably one of those things I'm never gonna get it right. Valsnaria, yes. Hi, from Vietnam. Oh, hello. Java moss is infected with a nasty case of claudophora. That is rough. What I would use, I have not found that Algifix works super well on that. I would get a syringe, a needle, or like for kids and medicine, or for like insulin. If you can get a needle legally, um, get that and fill it with hydrogen peroxide, and literally the moss squirt that, get 3% hydrogen peroxide or 9% hydrogen peroxide, and use that from the drugstore and literally squirt that cladophora all over. And try to, as much as you can, remove some of it. And then what you're going to do is you're going to do a blackout for 3 days. After you've squirted it, it should turn bright orange or yellow, the cladophora, once you've killed it. So you'll know within 24 hours if it starts turning yellowy brown, you'll know that squirting that hydrogen peroxide or H2O2 on that made a difference. If it doesn't, some of it is pretty tough stuff. Cladophora is rough, and what I would recommend though is that cladophora is really hard, but if you can put a blackout on it, moss is a resilient, very resilient thing, and for that matter, moss is pretty resilient to drying out. You might try a little section and pull it out of the water completely if you're able to do that with your hardscape. Pull it out of the water completely and see if the cladophora dies overnight and if the moss is able to dry out and then come back. Because a lot of moss is able to be completely wet and then completely dry and then get wet again and come right back to life. Whereas most algae cannot do that really well. It may regerminate when it gets wet again, which is a problem because, then it's gonna let its seed out again essentially, or break off and become there. But yeah, I would say just Fishery, what time zone is it? It's almost 1 a.m. It's a little after, it's 45 or 50 minutes after midnight here. Um, how is Co-op still out of eggs? Well, probably because they're ordering them from China or somewhere. And it's a lot of, what do you call it? A lot of hoops to jump through to get their stuff from there to here and then to you. Just put 1,000 goldfish, 500 zebra mussels, and 10 pounds of duckweed. Whoa, where'd that go? 10 pounds of duckweed into my local. Great, super good. Anyone know good fish jokes? Oh yeah, we should have that. There's a whole fish memes and jokes thread on our Discord page if you want to join it. It's free to be in most of the threads. And the documents thread I decided to make free after all because I just can't I can't put a paywall over learning. It feels wrong. Do you know the right treatment for so-called mystery tetra disease? I do not. No, I do not know. I remember that the Florida Aquaculture Lab had a recommendation, just like they did for Iliobiopsidae in shrimp and stuff, and I don't remember what the procedurals are for that or even the ingredients. Yeah, Madam Lacrimosa, I have a couple tanks where they're both thriving also. There's another crypt too, I think it's crypt axelrodi, and crypt wentii or something, gecko, if I remember, that also don't get along with Val for some reason, but I can't remember for sure. I'm just talking off the top of my head, but there's some other plants that for some reason seem to do battle with one another. They release some sort of chemical, and usually what it is it's a chemical that stunts the hormone that is known to trigger growth. So there's one chemical plants release that it says grow, and then there's another chemical that can literally be like a rock, a lead weight on that signal. So instead of saying grow, it just falls into the water and never reaches its target of saying grow. Well, guys, I'm gonna get out of here. Those cherry red tetras are fairly new. The Mosul tetras is what they've been named, and they used to think they were a Harold Schultzi tetra. A Hyphosobercon Harold Schultzi is what they used to sell them as, like a crystal cherry red. Then they realized, nope, there's something different, and then they found their main location, and they're like, whoa, these are way different. And then they called them Mosuls, is what they've been described as now, and those are the quote unquote cherry red tetras. And the males are actually an orange color, from what I can gather, which is cool. They're really, really pretty. They have like a slight orange to them rather than being like glowing red, like the females stay glowing red. Um, let's see here. Any special food you like to feed my plecos? Blanched zucchini, green beans, blanched string cut green beans. I love giving them those. Zucchini, um, any sort of squash from the garden. Kubota squash. I like feeding them that. I exclusively eat goldfish, caviar, and sea mostly. Yeah. How do you think the new Amano shrimp variants will be sold everywhere? Too expensive to ship. I think they are going to be sold everywhere. For somehow they're selling them for under $10. So that means I think they'll hit a $5 or $6 price mark. And the thing is, Amano shrimp have enough babies larvally. I think they have like a couple hundred babies, even though, Neocaridina shrimp have like 30 babies. They can have them over and over again in freshwater. Well, Amano shrimp are a pain in the butt. You have to like create a whole step down system tank to raise them, but they seem to have figured it out. The Germans have been doing it quite a bit. The Dutch have been doing it. Chinese seem to have it down. And I don't know if there is a trick. I've heard people claim that they can raise a mono shrimp in just hard water nowadays. Like there's strains that are that hardy, that their babies will live. And I think that that might be true if they're putting the actual food in there. So they're adding if they're adding things like the micronutrients and the diatom algae and stuff like that, the oh, what do you call it? Zooplankton and that, if that's really in there, then I think in like a brackish mix or in a hard freshwater mix, I think that's what they're doing. But I've been trying to find somebody who will speak on that on my channel for like 6 months, and I can't find anybody who will admit to how they're doing it. Holy smokes, Johnny, buddy. Thank you. I think that's probably gonna. I wonder if that will go to this stream tonight or if it'll start my month of April off with a bang. Man, Johnny, thank you, buddy. Yeah, $50 super chat. Man, you gotta save some money for yourself, my brother. You gotta go out and get yourself some new riding gear or something, man. I appreciate it though. That's very, very generous of you. And on that note, you guys, I really do appreciate all of y'all. And I'm supposed to stream tomorrow. And that's my goal. I should be streaming tomorrow sometime around 4:30 or 5 p.m. West Coast time. Kind of depends because I usually have to go do a couple errands. I have to go to the clinic where they treat my leg every twice a week. And wouldn't you know, Tuesday and Friday are the days, either Monday or Tuesday and Friday are the days that they always schedule me, and then I have to fight traffic to get back. So that's why I used to be 4 o'clock, and now it's kind of slipped to more like 5 o'clock. But hopefully that'll be about when we're streaming in like what, I don't know, 16 hours or something. We'll have another live stream. I don't know what the topic will be, but I also wanted to thank everybody for the new video is popping off. The 30 fish to check out. It has gotten like 20,000 views in a day, which I changed the thumbnail and that's what did it. It literally, you can see the hour I changed the thumbnail, views went from whatever they were, 2,000 to like 8,000 within like 4 hours. It was insane. So it's wild when the algorithm grabs something and pushes it. That's what's happening right now to that video, and then it brings in views to the rest of the channel. And that you guys, by being here, by interacting, by liking, by sharing, all that stuff, it helps a ton and it all builds momentum. So thank you guys, seriously, really, I really appreciate it. All things nature in Hawaii with Steve. Put the female shrimp in a small container to release larvae into fresh water, then take her out and pour the larvae into saltwater tank to start. Okay, that makes sense, Steve. That's cool. I've read different procedures too. Like, I mean, a few different procedures, but that one is one I think I recall as well. I want to do a video on the new color morphs because clearly they've gotten it down to the point where it's like no trouble for some people to just breed generation after generation and selectively breed them. Void connoisseur. That's awesome. Microfauna in the tank. Have you ever tried those Daphnia egg kits or water flea eggs for sale? I have not. I just go to my ponds in my backyard, which are literally buckets that are sitting on the patio, and they have been for a year under a tree. That's it, really. I know I need to get robot legs, brother. Robot legs, right? Johnny, you're my brother too, buddy. I appreciate it, man. I really do. All y'all, Mick, you're always in here too for years. Um, I appreciate all you guys. You guys are my best friends for real. I've got a couple close friends that I still see in real life, in person, but really I know and see a lot of folks through the channel, way more than people that I have known for years. I just never see anymore. Everyone's got either kids or they got problems or they fell off or they moved or whatever it may be. And you guys like the same stuff I like. You guys are obsessed with the same things I like. TCB. Good night, you pissy bastard. It's your first tonight. Well, Adrian Maravilla, welcome. I hope you had a good time. I hope it wasn't over too soon. And I hope you come back for the next live stream. Yeah, I am going to miss you at Findig also. I want to come to Findig. I will still come if I find out with a month's notice that like it'll be okay. Like tickets will probably be affordable for me. Or if Kenny and Danny are coming, I can always hitch a ride with them if I can get to Portland, and I can take the train to Portland in like 3 or 4 hours, 4 hours, and I'll come in that case if I can. Anyways, I appreciate all y'all. I hope you have a wonderful night. Thanks for coming out and joining me on a live stream. I was gonna say my leg is actually doing a lot better in the sense that so the leg was really problematic for a long time, but today I got a update on this leg, and like right now I've been standing here without my weight on my foot, just with holding my foot up and standing mostly on my other foot, this foot, and I'm just so used to that now. But hopefully that bandage can come off within the next month, they said. So that's what I'm like praying for, is that that it continues to heal that much. And that I can get back in the water, with like boots or something soon. Because so far I can't even take a shower or anything. They want me to keep both feet out because they want to be able to compare the healing on the heels and the callus on both feet. So they want me to keep both feet completely out of the shower so that I don't like make one all clean and like clear looking where the other one doesn't. And I am going crazy with that. Anyways, video's cutting out. So if that's the case, have a wonderful night. I'm gonna go try to find my cat if she's not breaking things already, and I'm gonna go snuggle with her. And if you want to find more information on Findig, it's in Sacramento, and it's SAS, Sacramento Aquarium Society. Google that. They have a website, and there is stuff there, as well as I think there's probably a Facebook page. But make sure it's the May 3rd and 4th. And make sure, oh, Mick's got info there. Make sure it's the stuff on the 3rd and 4th and not last year's. Because if you see me on the bill, that's last year's stuff. Whereas I know some people have found that again. So you want the new lineup. But yeah. All right, you guys. Luke, it's good to see you. Luke, if you want to post any links to Findig, guys, go check it out. We've been all saying if you're in Southern Oregon, Washington, Idaho, Nevada, California, go hit it up. It should be really fun. It was awesome when I went. I had a blast. It was really fun. Oh, you gave the wrong dates. Whoops. Well, whatever. Whatever the dates are. I'm sure Luke will set us straight here. If he's still in here, we'll see if he posts anything in a sec. I'll stay live for another second. We'll do it live. Um, woof woof, Bob. Bob. One more thing. The place to find info on mystery tetra disease. What to search for. I would say the tetra wasting disease or the black spot disease. And what I would do is go to Google and type in the word scholar and then look up tetra wasting disease. Or something along those lines. Also, the Florida Aquaculture Lab. Look up Florida Aquaculture Lab in Ruskin or Tampa, basically in the Tampa Bay area. And if you can find Florida Aquaculture Lab, go and look up their info, hit them up with an email, and they are required to tell any U.S. citizen, basically send them any pertinent info on breeding fish. If you are conceivably interested in becoming a Florida fish farmer, just say you are, they will send you what they know on it, and they are the foremost people on it. Yeah, Louie is the one. Uh, awesome. Okay, so it's May 3rd and 4th at the Four Points Hotel in Natomas. Right on. Natomas? I don't know how to say it. But Louie, we gotta go now. Yeah, I gotta go now. It's late. All right, you guys. Much love, you guys. I will talk to you later today, tomorrow, whatever it is for you. Happy April Fools. I'm not adding to any of the misinformation, I don't think, this year with the April Fools. I thought about it. I thought about saying something crazy or clickable, but I figure everyone else will probably do that. I might, though, post a couple shorts of some made-up fish that are clearly made up, like the elephant nose pea puffer or something like that, you know. Maybe keep an eye out for that. That's a possibility. All right, you guys, take care. Take care of your critters. And of course, take care of yourself, or you can't take care of your critters and the people around you if you don't take care of yourself. So, have a wonderful night. Thanks for hanging out with me. And yeah, just keep being yourself, you awesome people. I'll see you later. Bye.